accountable for it. My name is Kenny Bomer. I'm from Houston, Texas.
Why would you debate someone, but you basically debating me right now? I've been on your show for about an hour. On this whole entire broadcast, I was on your show for at least over an hour. And you talking about why you wouldn't debate someone who doesn't show their face? Well, you debating me right now. That's not, so don't try to use that excuse. We can see through you, Kenny. You plastic, man. We see right through you.
I'm 49 years old. I live right here in Midtown. Here I am, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. I'm the author of the book, Consider Islam Disproving the Patriots of Propaganda. Here I am. Why would I debate you?
Let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. My name is Sanford Pratt. I was born in St. Louis.
I have nothing to hide.
Brother, I became Muslim 11 years ago. All right, Abu Herrera, your turn, and then we'll go to Jenny. Everybody tell a little bit about themselves. And
Jenny, every 3 seconds you cut me off, man, because you're afraid of me, man. It's simple as that. Because you know what I'm about to say. You're afraid.
What afraid of?
You're afraid, man. It's simple.
Really?
All 3 of y'all are afraid to just let me speak and know it.
Self-destruct sequence initiated. Please go to the nearest exit.
We're all sitting here showing our faces, and we're afraid.
Actually, that was 14 seconds, not 3.
Chin here. He's showing his chin here. We're all showing our faces, and we're afraid. We're shaking, man.
We're afraid of you. Yeah, we're showing our.
They got such a big deal about me showing their face, but in Saudi Arabia and in Muslim countries all around the world, Muslim women have their face covered up. Okay.
And you are not showing your face.
You let me know what it is.
Why? For all that I care, you're another one of those losers with those BLM signs.
Yeah,
all on Kenny's face.
Listen.
Now he's getting racist because I'm black. He said I'm another one of those losers with those BLM signs, the Black Lives Matter signs. And I told y'all, Islam is a racist religion. Everything about Islam is racist. Abu Huraira, he's from Turkey. That's a racist a white Arab country. I don't think they Arabs, but some of them are. But it's a white Muslim country. The whiter you are in the Muslim countries, the more respect you have. Black people in Saudi Arabia to this day are still referred to as Abid, which means slave. Actually, there's a documentary that you should watch. It's a good documentary on YouTube, which they interview a lot of the black Saudi Arabians that's been in Saudi Arabia since the time of the Arab slave trade, when the Muslims were dealing in the slave trade, when they had the Zanj rebellion, when they had the slave uprisings, because the slaves were being mistreated because they were slaves, and the Muslims, but the slaves, they did an uprising. It's called the Zanj rebellion. This is what Kenny and them is not going to tell you. Oh, Islam is peaceful. They had slaves and the slaves were treated good, trying to make an excuse for slavery. But the slaves, they did an uprising called the Zanj rebellion. You can look it up. It's a well-known fact, but they're not going to speak on it. So it's just racism. It's just a bunch of lies. I'm ready for this video to end. I'm really getting sleepy right now, but it's coming to an end. So just bear with us.
Listen, I live right here in Houston, Texas.
Compare
yourself. 3 or 4 blocks away from a box.
Do not compare yourself to the creator of the heavens and the earth, okay?
Hold on. Talking about foul language.
Hold on.
Would your prophet say, bite the penis of your...
Listen, I'm about 3 or 4 blocks away from the Midtown Boxing Club. And if you think I'm afraid of you, I beat up this bag every day. You come on over here and I'll...
Bags don't hit back, Kenny. Like Bruce Lee said, boards don't hit back. He did the same thing with Sam Shamoon. Sam Shamoon asked him a question. He got upset. And he was talking about he want to box Sam Shamoon. Now he's talking about he want to box me. It's nothing but the spirit of Islam. He's talking about it's a religion of peace. But as you see, he is speaking about resorting to violence. But it's a religion of peace. But he's talking about violence and boxing because he's getting mad. He's getting in his feelings because I have intellectually dragged him throughout this debate, throughout the time I was on his little panel, he was getting destroyed. He was getting embarrassed. Everybody sees it. And when I upload this, everybody will continue to see it. So
show you that I'm not afraid of you. I don't know what I'm not afraid of you intellectually, spiritually, physically, in any form or fashion. I assure you. But if you want to make videos saying that I am, go ahead. I'm not. Okay. Anyone who knows Kenny Bomer knows that Kenny.
Actions speak louder than words, Kenny. If you wasn't afraid, you wouldn't keep muting Brother Jacob every 10 seconds with your little toys, your new computer buttons you want to try out. You think it's funny. Everybody sees what's going on, Kenny.
Bomer is not one who fears. I don't fear men. I fear my creator and only my creator. I don't care if there was 10 Jacobs. I would say 10 Jacobs. I'm Kenny Bomer. What do you want to do? I mean, that's the fact of the matter. You don't.
You would say 10 Jacobs. I'm Homer Simpson. I'm Homer Simpson. What you want to do?
Intimidate me at all. But why are you even talking about? What do you mean? What afraid of you on what level? Intellectually? Please. I don't think so. You're not qualified. You're hiding your face. We see your chin and your yellow teeth whenever you show them. I'm not afraid of you. Okay, so keep
the right channel. I'm on the right channel.
Yeah. Yeah,
who is this guy? You see, this is the whole purpose. He's accomplishing his purpose.
Listen, yeah, right. You know, the thing is, we were talking about the gift of time.
His soul,
utilize our time before the day of judgment.
We love his soul and we're willing to hang out.
It's you know, I knew this was going to happen. It's just wanting to demonstrate. I planned to do this all day. I knew he was going to be coming. The objective is to utilize our time in the best of manners, to argue with people in ways that are best and most gracious. Yeah. That's what Allah tells us to do, right? And so along the way, Christianity, when you're making videos about me,
yeah,
right? So alhamdulillah, it's you're wasting your valuable time.
Look at those new 2 creeps at the bottom left-hand corner. Don't they look like a bunch of pedophiles? They look like the type of Muslims who would actually follow Muhammad's words to the T, and they would have no problem touching on and fondling with a little infant baby. Look at the 2 at the bottom with those long beards. They look like those types. Just look at them.
You might not get another sunrise. Do you realize that? I know you're still.
They look sick. They look sick.
Listening, you might not.
These Muslims are some sick people, man. They sick. And that's why all of the Muslim countries are in poverty. That's why they have to flee their countries and come to the West to find a better life. But yet they want to bring the same mess that destroyed the Muslim world. They want to bring it over here and convince us that Islam is right. But if Islam is right, why is there no peace in any of the Muslim lands? If Islam spreads, then the whole world would be total chaos, civil war, Shia and Shia fighting Shiites. Where in the world is 2 Christian groups fighting and killing each other in the modern time? But right now, in the modern era, you have Shia Muslims killing Sunni Muslims, Shiite Muslims killing Sunni Muslims, beheading each other, fighting and killing each other. It's total chaos in the Muslim world.
Get another sunrise, okay? By the gift of time, surely mankind is in loss.
I just want to
flatter yourself.
I have to bring fencing. I'll be right back.
You have as a host, and may Allah continue to give you sabr, brother, to deal, and you allow people to continue to come back. I know myself, someone
waste time with what Allah has decreed. So number one, that doesn't even make sense.
Okay, we're going to show this part. This is the part I was trying to get to.
After 9/11, more people became Muslim because they wanted to find out what was going on. And when then they found out the beauty of
it. You let me speak now? Can I speak now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I speak now?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Now, This is the question that I had. I want to talk to Sanford. Don't interrupt me. And as a matter of fact, I'm a whisper.
Okay,
I'm a whisper.
That's great.
Now, when I first came to the show, Kenny muted me because I said that the very title of his show doesn't make sense. Because Allah is the one who decrees all of your actions. So how can you waste time with what Allah has decreed? So number one, that doesn't even make sense. My second question was,
title you mean?
My second question was, what I mean, there is a hadith that says that there is an angel that comes and it writes down all of your actions and deeds before you were even born. In fact, Moses and Adam was in an argument, and Moses told Adam told Moses, how can you blame me for getting kicked out of heaven when it was Allah who decreed what I would do 40 years before he created me? So how can you waste time when Allah is the one who decrees all of your actions and deeds? So the title of your show, Kenny, it doesn't even make sense. And
so what I was just explaining to him, the title of his show, he was talking about time is precious and you shouldn't waste time. So I was basically telling him how even his show and his conversation about not wasting time and time is so precious that it didn't even make sense. And like I promised, I'll leave the links to the hadiths that I'm quoting to him. And I was telling him how there's the hadith that says that when a child is born, an angel is sent and it writes down the actions and the deeds of the child, and even when that child would die. So, and then I told him about the hadith where Moses and Adam was having an argument, and Adam told Moses, how can you blame me for getting kicked out of heaven when Allah decreed what I would do 40 years before he even created me? So my whole point was, you can't waste time because everything that the Muslim does is decreed by Allah. So how can you waste something that was decreed? Your time is not wasted. So I was just showing him how his whole show topic didn't even make sense. They talk about this life is a trial and a test. How can this life be a trial and a test when, according to the Muslims, everything is decreed by Allah? So how can decreed and trial and test share the same space? It doesn't even make sense. And I'll use that example that I gave earlier. That's just like me saying, if I created a robot and programmed inside of that robot every movement and action that it makes, then how can I say that the robot is going through a test in life or wasting time when I'm the one who programmed how long the robot would last and everything? So I was just saying to them how none of his show topic even made sense.
Second thing that I was saying is 4 of you against one.
You're talking to me. Now you're talking to
I am.
Who you talking
I am. No. I'm talking to you now. Just calm down. Now, Sanford. Then Kenny cut me off again because in Islam, over there in Saudi Arabia, they say.
Warning. Self-destruct sequence initiated. Please go to the nearest exit.
Over there.
This has nothing to do. You see how he's bouncing all around? You see how he's bouncing all around all these.
I want to hear you. Kenny, he want to hear me. Sanford, are you listening?
Okay,
let me listen. Okay, let me listen. Listen. Now.
Okay, shut up.
Notice he said I was bouncing all around when I was talking about how his show topic didn't make sense. I was only finishing the statement that I was trying to make when I was first allowed to come onto the panel. If he wasn't so busy muting me, I would have already had the opportunity to say what I was saying now. But he said I was jumping all over the place when I wasn't. And as you see, the next thing that I'm about to say is the very thing that I was saying earlier about opening up the graves of the prophets, as you will see. So I wasn't jumping all around. Kenny is the one jumping around, not answering anything that I'm saying, not refuting anything that I showed, like the contradiction that his prophet made. So he is the one that was actually not talking about anything. He was the one and the rest of his panel members who were creating the straw man arguments. It wasn't Brother Jacob.
Okay, shut up. Quite simply, just shut up. Okay, because the name of this show is what? Consider This TV. Why? Because the Quran says quite clearly, let there be no compulsion in religion. Truth is made clear from falsehood. Whoever embraces that truth is grabbed hold of a trustworthy handhold that will never break.
Gotta get him busted again. He just got his prophet busted again. He said that the Quran says quite clearly that there is no compulsion in religion. Again, he is lying. That verse is abrogated. Also, that verse was quoted to the Jews. It wasn't even for Muslims. Not only that, that verse has been abrogated. And also, in a hadith, his prophet says, the best people ever raised up for mankind are those Muslims who bring the non-believers with chains around their necks until they embrace Islam. So if Islam is not about compulsion in religion, then why did your prophet say that the best of mankind are those Muslims who brings the disbelievers to Islam with chains around their necks until they become a Muslim? So they'll have chains around their necks until they accept Islam. So if that's not compulsion in religion, can someone in the comment section below tell me then what is compulsion? Is any Muslims can tell me what compulsion in religion is if bringing someone with chains around their neck until they embrace Islam is not compulsion in religion?
So what are we doing? We're telling people to consider Islam. All right, it's the name of the book. Matter of fact, you remember that? Remember that book? You remember that book that we're talking about, Devin? You remember that? Remember that? What does it say, Devin? It says, consider Islam. Islam. All right, it's the name of the book. Matter of fact, you remember that? Remember that book? You remember that book that we're talking about, Devin? You remember that? Remember that? What does it say, Devin? It says, consider Islam. It doesn't say we're forcing Islam upon you, imposing Islam upon you. You better accept Islam or else. That's it for you, Buster. No, it doesn't say that. No, it's an offer to people. Look, have you considered this? No, we're not trying to impose anything on you. We're not trying to force anything upon you. We're trying to give you a better alternative. What is that alternative? To worship our Lord and your Lord, our God and your God, the one who created us, the God of Adam, alayhi salatu wasalam, the God of Abraham, the God of Moses, the God of Noah, the God of Isa ibn Maryam, alayhi salatu wasalam. Peace be upon them all. Right? So that's what we're trying to do here. So we're saying, consider this. Right? Does it make sense? Brothers, does that make sense to you?
Perfectly.
So it sounds like to me, let me wrap my mind around it, but it sounds.
Let me fast forward past the gosh, this dude is so annoying, man. I don't see how somebody can be a Muslim and listen to this garbage. I don't understand it. Let me fast forward past that. They don't talk about anything. This is the most dumbest religion.
Time. Someone who's actually wasting time. He's wasting time. So, yeah, I mean.
He said something to me I wanted to respond to, which was in the beginning where he said, you cut him off and this and that. And it's like, Jacob, if you're listening, I don't know if you're there or not.
He's there.
Kenny is I know Kenny, and I know that he's a gentleman, and I know that he's a human being. We all make mistakes and we all sin, and we all ask for forgiveness. As a matter of fact, you're supposed to be a proponent of that forgiveness.
Brother Sam, can I tell you something quickly about this individual?
What's that?
Can I tell you something quickly about this individual?
Yeah, in a second. I know he probably did some very bad things. So,
No, don't know. I want you to tell me the truth about this individual. I'll expose him to you. Very
Okay,
good.
hold on. Let Sanford make his point.
I'm concerned with his soul.
Sure.
To kill Muhammad, peace be upon him, and Allah turned him around. I'm talking to this human being here. I'm not talking to an organization. I'm not talking to Christians. I'm talking to Jacob. I'm talking to this human being here. This one human being in front of me. I'm giving him all my attention, and he's giving me Marvel Comics. That's not a bad trade. They're worth a lot of the collector's items, you know. Anyway, Jacob, you have your religion and we have our religion, and we don't want to fight you over it. And why do you want to fight us? Are you fancy yourself someone who's a crusader for Christ, and you're going to eliminate everybody you think is against Christ or isn't part of Christianity, and you're going to clear the way and get everybody out of the way that you think is yeah, but the thing is, man, yeah, he is trying to play it safe. He is. He submitted to Allah, and that's the safest thing you can do, because after that, you got to just stay on the straight path and you're good. No, yeah, he is trying to. Yes, he is. So am I. So all of us here are trying to play it safe. You're taking a terrible chance. You're a risk. You're taking a risk. We're trying to pull you back from it. We don't take any pleasure in what we see here. We don't take Vera show. He wants to go find what's his name's Al Capone's safe, open it up, see what's inside. Listen,
Okay. In your religion, you have grave.
This is the part I wanted y'all to see. Sorry for the long delay. I don't mean for y'all to have to listen to all of that gibberish that they sang, but sometimes when you trying to, find, the exact moments when I was, actually making the points for this video. So just be patient. So this is what I really wanted to say to them, but Kenny, stalling and doing all of that because he's afraid of what I had to say. But here's the moment where I really dropped the bomb.
Of several different so-called prophets, not only Muhammad. You claim to have the grave of Adam, you claim to have the grave of Muhammad, and you claim to have the grave of other prophets.
What on earth does
So
this
my
have to do with
question is-
anything? What does this have to do with the topic of the show today? What does this have to do with anything that we've discussed today? You've just been looking while we've been talking, and you've been looking.
If you let me finish, I'll tell you.
he wants to do. He wants to do a Geraldo Rivera show. He wants to go find what's his name's Al Capone's safe, open it up, see what's inside. Listen,
He's got to go.
the way that Islam is, it's like a kid going to school saying, I want to know about calculus, and he doesn't know what 2 and 2 is. The way Aisha taught Islam, and she was a master of teaching Islam, is square one, Tawheed, La ilaha illallah. We agree there's one God, right, Jacob? There's one God, right? One God? Can we agree on that?
He said Aisha was a master of teaching Islam, but she have the intelligence of a man, according to Muhammad. And it's funny that they'll take the hadiths of Aisha as trustworthy, but it takes 2 witnesses in Islam to equal the witness of one man. But when it comes to the hadith, they will take the single testimony of one female. And not only that, from the memory that she is quoting from when she was like 6 and 9 and a little girl. So a lot of the things that these Muslims are believing in is coming from the testimony of a girl, a little girl. This religion it's just ridiculous, man.
Look what this says.
Can you, yay or nay, or it's evil? According to Jesus, if I ask you a question and you don't say anything but yay or nay, you're fine. No, this is according to Jesus Christ. Peace be upon him. Listen, according to your teacher and your Lord, the one you worship, he taught you. If someone asks you, forgive you for calling him a fool. if you want to be in.
I never called Kenny a fool. And first of all, the scripture in the Bible says, don't call your brother a fool. A brother is your brother in Christ.
You came to Houston, Texas, I'll drag you all up and down around. I'm asking.
More violence from Kenny. He said if I came to Houston, Texas, he would drag me all around. Y'all heard everything he's saying. But he represents the religion of peace. Did I say anything in a violent manner that I would do to Kenny Bomer physically? No. But as you see, and he's supposed to be an imam. And he is the one making all of the violent threats. As you heard him say it again.
A question about what this person has said regarding you. They've come to the show based on those ridiculous videos that you make with my name in it, and says quite clearly that they find you disgusting. Okay? They find you disgusting. Why? Because you're not representing their religion the way it should be represented.
Bible.
They were
in the Bible.
Christ at that time when he was actually.
But Jesus said to let your love, to let it shine on people like the sun, on the good and the like the good
and I'm not trying to be funny.
You're not
Stanford, let me ask you something.
Like everybody.
Stanford, let me ask you something. Stanford, let me ask you something. I'm not even trying to be funny. I don't got no malice in my heart against you, but I want to ask you a question. And when I was asking you a valid question, you tried to throw it under the bus because you don't want me to even get it out. And I'm not trying to be funny.
You're not
Stanford, let me ask you something.
Like everybody.
Stanford,
Okay, finally, I'm back at the part where I'm dropping the bomb. And again, I have to apologize because it's not me, people. It's Kenny Bomer and the way his antics is the reason why this video is, the duration of it is getting so long because, as you see, all of the theatrics that he does.
Ask you something. Stanford, let me ask you something. I'm not even trying to be funny. I don't got no malice in my heart against you, but I want to ask you a question. And when I was asking you a valid question, you tried to throw it under the bus because you don't want me to even get it out.
To go to the question, save your ridicule and accusation.
So let me go to the question. Let me go to the question. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go to the question. Now,
yeah,
I'm going to be honest with you.
I hope so.
Let me be honest with you.
Why do you have to say that?
Let me be honest to you. If I was even to consider Islam,
yes.
I'm a very logical person.
Yes.
I'm a very logical person.
Yes.
If I was to even consider Islam and they told me that they had graves of all of these prophets, my first question would be, okay, before I sign up, open up these graves of all of these prophets so I can see if the bodies are decomposed or not. Because Muhammad said that the earth does not consume the bodies of the prophets. So as Muslims, all of you on this panel, if you are trying to spread Islam, the biggest miracle would be if you could show the world, all of these prophets in the graves and all of these decomposed bodies.
This is not it's a diatribe. You're not asking.
Why are you not pushing? It's not a diatribe. No, it's not diatribe.
What's the question?
It's not diatribe.
What's the question?
Because if it was written in our religion that Jesus' body was in a grave and it was not decomposed, you Muslims would say, okay, then open up the tomb of Jesus so we can see if his body is decomposed or not.
Right. Okay.
That's what you Muslims would be doing.
Get your point.
So I'm asking you Muslims the same things. You have all of these graves. Y'all have all of these graves in your possession. Why are you not opening up these graves and showing these bodies to the world to prove that Muhammad is a prophet?
I'll tell you.
So y'all see what I'm asking them? And the answer to that question is they don't have any bodies. They claim they have the body of Adam. They claim they have the body of Noah. They have a whole list. You can Google it. You can actually go on Google and type in a search engine, the bodies of the prophets, the graves of the prophets of Islam. And you'll see all of these prophets that they claim that they have in these graves in India, all throughout, Saudi Arabia. They claim to have all of these bodies. They claim they have the body of Adam. And according to Islam, he would be the height of a 10-story building, according to Islam. So they got this long grave that they say that it's the body of Adam inside of that grave. But only thing I'm asking them is to show us. And that's a very, very logical and a very, very valid question.
Let me answer you why. For one,
wait.
hold on. For one, let me give you just the basic logical answer. For one, opening up graves is a crime. For one, first and foremost,
That's one thing.
it's actually a crime. And so it's very clear from falsehood. And when truth comes, falsehood must flee, and falsehood by its nature is bound to flee. And so once again, he left. I didn't kick him out. He left. So alhamdulillah, listen, our time is like ice. Our time is precious. And
he said opening up a grave is a crime. Opening up a grave is not a crime in Islam. You see how opening up a grave is not a crime. Where is opening up a grave a crime? If the government officials open up the grave to make a point, you see how he has to make up lies? How would that be a crime? This guy is full of it.
Have to make sure that we utilize in the best of manners. And this is a prime example of someone wasting their valuable time. In some ways, we wasted our time, but what it's done is it allows us to utilize the opportunity to demonstrate the truth and beauty of Islam. Here he is again. Let's see what he's got to say. Now, Devin. So, like I was saying, opening up graves, that's against the law. You realize that, right? So if you're asking us,
No, I don't.
No, it's against the law if some random person go and dig up a grave, but not if the officials of Islam open up a grave to prove a point. No, it wouldn't be a crime, idiot.
In Islam,
hold on. We're
where
supposed
is
to track
Islam
down.
opening up a grave against the law?
Listen.
Where
Listen,
is Islam opening up a grave
asking us-
against?
I want to wrap my mind around this. Are you asking us on Consider This TV, me, Sanford, and Brother Ziyad? You're asking us, and Brother Yusuf is there somewhere. Are you asking us why don't we go find the graves of the prophets and start digging them up to prove a point?
You don't have to find them. They located at specific points that you Muslims say and claim you have placed these bodies. It's not like they hidden somewhere like where's Waldo? No.
Do you? That's ridiculous. Do you realize what you're saying? Do you realize how absurd it is for you to come on here and even bring this issue up? It's nonsensical. Okay? Quite simply, you can't look into the graves of the prophets, neither can we. So if Allah says, and if the Prophet, peace be upon him, has been revealed to him that the bodies of the prophets aren't consumed by the earth, then alhamdulillah, you can't verify that they are or they're not. Neither can we. It's.
Do you hear this fool? He said, we can't verify it, neither can we. That's the whole point about me raising the question, you dummy. You are a fool. That's why I said, why don't the Muslims, you can. The officials of Islam, they can open up these graves and show the world. We can end all of this back and forth, all of the violence that's taking place in the Islamic world right now, all of the ISIS, all of the beheadings, all of the infighting that's taking place in Islam itself, all of the hundreds of years of wars and the crusades and all of the Muslim invasions into Christian lands. All of this can be ended today if Muslims would open up the graves and let's prove to us if your prophet was real or not. Only thing they got to do is open up the graves. Show us that the so-called grave of Adam, the first man, show us if his body is decomposed or not. Because your prophet said that the earth does not consume the bodies of the prophets. And tell us, how did you Muslims obtain the body of Adam anyway? How did you obtain the bodies of all of these prophets that you claim you have? Only thing we are asking is to show us. So don't say that we can't verify it. There's no way of verifying it, and there's no way that you can't verify. Oh, yes, there is. Haven't you heard of archaeologists unearthing and opening up the graves of Egyptian kings and queens? And haven't you heard of archaeologists discovering artifacts? Even evolutionists who try to push the theory of evolution, they unearth and dig up bones from the ground and say that this is where, I'm not saying I believe in this garbage, but this is where man came from, and these skeletons are showing the evolution of man. Don't you Muslims talk about the Quran proves the Big Bang Theory? It's in line with the Big Bang Theory. Don't you Muslims strain and try to find what you claim to be scientific miracles in the Quran to prove a point to us? You go out your way to try to find scientific miracles and do all of that. Well, show us another scientific miracle. What would be bigger than a miracle that you Muslims can show us that your prophet was a real prophet when he said that the bodies of the prophets do not decompose? So show us. Show us his body. That's all you got to do. Show us. And you know why they won't do it? Because they don't believe in the words that they say they believe in. Because if they did, he would have no problem saying, you know what, Jacob? That's a good point. You know what? I'm going to start up a petition. You know what? We Muslims, we actually believe in what our prophet said. You know what, Jacob? You got a good point. We stand by what Muhammad said 100%. If he said that the bodies of prophets, the earth does not consume the body of prophets, then guess what, Brother Jacob? I have no issue in that. Because if Egyptians can mummify and preserve bodies, then I know Allah, with his power and his wisdom, he can preserve the body of Adam and the body of Noah and the body of Muhammad. So you know what, Brother Jacob? You got a good point. You know why he didn't say that? Because he don't believe. And he knows that it's a hoax. And he knows that I have a solid point.
It's ridiculous.
Jacob, show me your original articles of faith. Show me your original gospels.
Well,
Show me what you believe in. Show me which one
is this what you're doing?
Versions
Hold on, Stanford. So is this what you're doing with your valuable time? You're wasting your time on nonsense like this? You're trying to find anything and everything that you can to take it out of context and try to utilize it to make your little silly, cartoon videos. For what? Do you realize that your time is melting away?
And that's it for that. As you see, they don't have the guts to stand by what their prophet said. He's not saying anything. And at this moment, let me show you, and we're about to end this because this went way longer than I intended it to go. But let me show you, I'm going to bring up an article for you. Read. It says 5 million people and 70,000 prophets are buried in Wadi As-Salam Cemetery. Wadi As-Salam is the largest cemetery in the world, comprising of almost 15 square miles in area. The cemetery is in the city of Najaf at a walking distance from the shrine, which is the burial place of Imam Caliph Ali bin Abu Talib, Prophet Adam, and Prophet Noah, two of the most prominent prophets, namely Hud and Selah, are buried here with other 70,000 prophets and staggering 5 million people. Prophets Hud and Selah are mentioned in the Quran. So the challenge is this: Muslims, show us these prophets. Can you unearth the body of Adam, the body of Noah, the body of Muhammad? Y'all got 70,000 prophets. It's really more than that. But in this cemetery, they say that they have 70,000 prophets. And y'all can't show us one? I rest my case. Tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. This is Brother Jacob signing out.